Yo, we live, baby.
We
Darrell
back.
Welcome
official.
back. Welcome back.
Jordan
How's
Claire. I
everything
always
going?
never know where
What's
my
going
hand is.
on?
I'm like, yo, where's my hand? Where's my hand? What's good, everybody? What's good, my bros?
Hey,
We
happy New Year's,
back.
everybody. I think this is our first episode of 2021. Let's get it. Third Dimension
hmm
Podcast. We're back at it, man. It's
Yeah,
been a minute.
buddy. It's
Yeah,
been too long for sure, man. For everybody out there. Yep, it's your boy TG. Darrell official. Jordan back in the
let's
house.
get it.
Yeah, man. Daryl said it right. We've had a pretty, honestly, a pretty transitional slash busy
hmm
2021 slash side project.
We
Um,
got some shit coming.
yeah, exactly. We got some shit cooking, and for some of you guys that kind of follow our personal lives and everything like that too, we've definitely got some Easter eggs out. We've thrown some hints out, but we'll do a fish when we launch officially. We'll talk about it on the show. But regardless, everybody, yeah, man, I know we've been MIA for quite a while, but again, it's been a transitional, busy 2021, and for everybody out there, I know we have a lot of American listeners.
hmm
Man, fucking Toronto still, we're still locked down, man. Like this COVID situation just doesn't seem to want to end. Dude, it's I'm over it. And for a long time, I was like, oh, COVID's whatever. You know what I mean? Like I just chill in the house anyway. But even me, like I have a limit. You know what I mean? Like I'm fucking ready, man. I'm ready for warm weather and patios and drinking and having a good time with my
I
boys
definitely
and
think
shit.
I definitely think that warm weather will just help, regardless of if COVID stays the way it is. Just warm
Right.
weather will be nice.
Yeah.
In general, I'm tired of the cold weather, personally.
Yeah, I know I feel you, man. But for everybody out there, I want to go introduce the show topic. We're gonna dive right in. I mean, really, Um, we wanted to talk about basically, COVID's effect on relationships. Because really, what we've seen is we've seen relationships thrive. I've seen it happen. My family and friends, and
hmm
but we've seen a lot of them fail and pretty much sputter out. And I've read statistics before we jump on the show, but me and Daryl talk about this shit all the time. We've all chatted about it all the time. It's hard to say what am I trying to say? It's hard to pinpoint exactly the differences. The funny thing is, before we went live, everybody, we were already having like a heated, not heated discussion, but like a discussion about it because there's so many moving parts to a relationship, and I think COVID threw such a crazy wrench in a lot of people's daily lives. That again, some people just couldn't get through it. Some people it showed that they weren't compatible truly with who they were with, and then with some people it was like, you know what, like this person I'm really with is really the one for me because we went through the worst shit and we're with each
hmm
other 24/7 and I still love this person. So that's what we thought. You know what? Since COVID's still fucking going on pretty much all over the world, and relationships such a real topic, we figured let's start 2021 with such a real humanly topic, man. Because we're all in relationships outside of Daryl, but Daryl obviously has relations. So man, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I think just to continue where we were, um, I read an article, y'all, and just piggyback off of this. I was obviously, we were just chatting about it, but I read an article about a couple that was, I think they were living in like London or some shit. I can't remember where they were, but they were overseas. But again, with the statistics going on with divorces, it's up through the roof across the world, not just North America, like everywhere, right? But anyways, I read the story about this couple, and she was like, she was agreed, I guess, for the article. Whoever wrote it was like, yeah, I'll tell you our story. Because I was always very like, my opinion was, well, you're fucking stupid. If you decided to get married to somebody like I did, you don't really know them because like I did that and it was stupid. So, anyways, long story short, this girl is an introvert, like the girl in this story. The guy is an extrovert. So before, when everything was normal, they had their outlets. He played a lot of basketball, played a lot of social things, went out with his boys, blah blah blah. And she is introverted by nature. She likes to go climbing, but also likes to relax at home. Basically, when I was reading the article, she said that their outlets pretty much went away. They took the COVID situation very seriously. They decided to work from home. They didn't go to bars. They didn't do anything. Like they took it super serious, and were pretty much with each other 24/7. And they just pretty much, she said, their love or their fire fizzled out. Like they got to the point where they couldn't stand to talk to each other. They couldn't stand to see each other. Their sex started it disappeared. Because and then she pretty much was saying because at the end of the day we didn't have an ability to recharge ourselves. Like he was getting super frustrated because extroverted by nature, he couldn't go anywhere. The things that he loved. Even Darrell, you talked about it in multiple episodes we did last year that how much you missed basketball, right?
hmm
How it just was. It's a big part of your life. Playing basketball, being out there, not just for the exercise, but with your homies and just the competitive nature. So he lost that. she lost that when he goes out, she likes to relax when he goes out, right? And she lost that. She was like, dude, I never had time for myself. And basically, long story short, in the article, they divorced. And she was pretty much saying that, the COVID situation magnified the possible fact that they probably maybe weren't too compatible to begin with, but the dynamics of their relationship, with given they lived with each other, but obviously they had their two separate lives, there was nothing ever really bringing up to light that they had so much incompatibilities, right? So that's what we were chatting about, and that's kind of what started the whole conversation. Jordan, go back in what you were saying, because you didn't really. My stance was, you know what, I was very like, you again, very like hard, like, all right, look, dude, you probably should have known that beforehand, blah blah. But when I read her story, I was kind of understanding, because my other side of it was like, what if COVID never happened? Would they be happily ever after? You know what I'm saying?
But would they actually be happily ever after? Because are they truly happy with that person? Because do they actually know who they're with? They know a certain aspect of that person, or a lot of who they are, but they didn't know all of who they are. And that's what I'm saying. And for me, it's like, in a way, what I was saying before was like through thick and thin. I'm not saying that be with somebody and you have to stick with them through thick and thin. It's the want to stick with them through the thick and the thin.
For sure.
Right? You have to want to stay there through the good and the bad. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to stay there through the good and the bad, then obviously it's not the right one for you, because you should want to stay there through the good and the bad, in my eyes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where I feel, that's kind of how I feel about that. So in my head, if COVID didn't happen, they could have actually wasted years of their lives together, and later on realized they weren't compatible, rather than COVID happening and multiple people realizing they're actually not compatible.
That's, dude, bro, you make a good point, because how many times have we seen, relationships going for 20 plus years, have kids, have a house, and then they get a divorce? Sorry, Darrell, I didn't mean to cut you off, bro. What you gonna say?
No. Yeah, so I'll just say I completely agree with Jordan, man, especially with COVID. It's pretty much you're in a time capsule, you know what I'm saying? So it's pretty much speeding up time. Right? So all that time that you guys, because like we were alluding before we hopped on the chat, is like we spent less time with our family than we actually do with our coworkers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like so that time now is being spent in that enclosed space. So then all their flaws, all their communication skills that they lack starts getting magnified within that time span you spend with that extended time you're spending with them. Right. Mm-hmm. So over time, that initial spark is starting to dwindle away. You know, so.
That's normal though, like that's normal though. Like the spark that, me and my girl have is 100% different from the spark. Like the spark we have now is not the same as the spark from the first month. Like, but to me, that's natural. That's a natural thing. Like, it's not going to be like the first date.
But you don't want to leave
24/7. That's fake. No, of course, far from
my point. That's my girl. Exactly. Exactly.
Sure. But see, I feel like my situation is a bit unique, because COVID didn't really do much as far as negativity to our relationship, because dude, we met at worked together. She left for like 3 months. I left to another job for like 3 months, quit that job, getting drunk with Jordan one night, remember shit? And then we start working together. Granted, we're still working together to this day.
Yeah.
And then obviously now we're here. Now, don't get me wrong, we've had our times where I've even told her like, yo, I need a break, like as far as like with this work and home life. Because it's like, dude, like we work together and then we go home and we still talk about work. But we chatted about it. That's what I'm saying. But obviously, again, my situation is a bit different, because me and my girl have, we both lucked out, man. We're highly compatible. We're fucking laughing together all the time. I mean, she's like my best friend. Friends. Exactly.
There you go.
But the other side of it, though, I guess what I'm realizing especially when I read that article, y'all, was that I guess it made me think to be a bit more understanding of a failed relationship versus because most people, like you guys said, you should have known that from day one that relationship was going to work. You should thank COVID that you saw that. But then the other side of it is, man, like, I understand. If you guys ever, I mean, obviously the difference between an extrovert and an introvert, bros, that's two different type of people, man. Like, when I mean like an introverted person, like they get drained by human interaction, and the way they are able to recover for themselves is alone time. Whether that's just alone sleeping, alone reading a book. But we can't necessarily, I guess the way I look at it is that I can't necessarily blame an introverted type of person to be like, you know what? this is not for me. You know what I'm saying? And we don't know. I mean, that article was written last year, so who knows if that couple got back together? I don't fucking know. Because maybe, COVID relaxed and they decided, hey, let's give this thing a shot. I don't fucking know. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, to not be so long-winded, is people are different, man. Like, I think y'all three have seen, successful relationships. Like, your Jordan, your parents still together. Dura, your parents still together. But my life wasn't like that, right? And for better or for worse, like, obviously my father died when I was, really, really little. But I saw my mom go through, relationship after relationship after relationship. She got married, thought it was finally, she found her love again. And then that shit fizzled out. So that's kind of where I was getting a bit, where Jordan, you were saying like it's got to be thick and thin. You have these vows, and I don't really believe in that 100%. Not to say that I'm saying I'm going to throw in the towel when things get hard, because it took a lot for me to go to a divorce when I finally did.
Mhm.
Dude, it took everything I had to finally decide to do it. But I think the
Exactly. You're
reason
trying to push through the thick and the thin.
for sure, bro. Like, I
Exactly.
was going through, mental and like
But
all
you
kinds of
realize
mental
it's just
abuse.
not for you. It wasn't for
But
you.
this is the thing, though, my bro, is that, like, because of the whole old school thinking of, like, through thick and thin, to a death do us part, I just pretty much kept telling myself that I made vows to this girl, as crazy as this bitch is. I promised I would never leave. So I stuck around through abuse and abuse and abuse. And then it finally got to the point, it's like, you know what, dude? Like, there's no fucking way that, like, God intended it to be that way. Not to say that I'm, again, I'm not trying to
Mhm.
bring religion into it, but, like, obviously there's a lot of religious beliefs when it comes into marriage. And everybody's like, this is God's will, blah, blah. And that bitch used to throw that shit in my face all the time. But then I realized, I was like, yo, like, I'm pretty sure if, like, somehow God manifested in my face, he wouldn't be like, yeah, dude, this is what marriage is about. Even if this bitch beats you at
No,
night, you have to
no,
stick
no,
around.
no.
I'm pretty sure it'd be like, dude,
Hell
nah,
no.
bro, that's not how I meant
I
to be.
would have been
Like,
out of
you
that
gotta
too.
bounce.
That's you can't. That's not through better or for worse. That's through abuse. Like, you know what I mean? That's a lot different. Like my point is that you have to want to stay with the person through better and through the worse. And like, you didn't want to stick with her. You tried as much as you could, but in the end of the day, you didn't want to. And look where it's led you, to a happier place.
No, this
And
is
now,
facts.
and then, so then that's that. It's not that I'm saying, like I said, you don't have to meet that person and and if you get married to them, stick with them through the thick and the thin. It's just you have to want to stick through them with them through the thick and the thin. And if you don't want
Yeah,
to,
but
then it is not one for you. That's the way
yeah,
I see
1%. 1%, because at the end of the day, we're all creatures, humans are all creatures of habits, man. You know what I'm saying? So especially
it. Mhm.
the time being spent with each other, we have to create new habits on how we can learn to cope with those um with those negative energy that we get from our spouses. You know what I mean? So we have
Mm,
to find ways to cope with those, because then that's how a relationship succeeds in the long run. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not
mhm.
able to handle those little bumps that come along the road, then maybe it's a good thing that you guys do go your separate ways, because then, like Jordan said earlier in the chat, it was going to save you guys time, wasted time. You know what I mean? So definitely, I think we just need to learn, especially each other in a relationship, our social cues, our love languages, and everything like that, and then to help build that relationship. So I feel like, especially this time, most people are so stressed that they don't even want to read the other person's body language, or even signs that they're meeting through their bodies. So I think that's something that we need to, especially as individuals, just learn about ourselves and how we can help our relationship, instead of just saying "fuck it, man, I'm tired of this," and then bounce out. So you have to, like, stick through the thick and thin. If you really think this is it, you will try and make this work. Doesn't really
Let me
matter
ask you,
what obstacle comes along the way.
for sure. Let me pose this question for you guys and anybody out there
Mhm.
listening. Do you guys think that people that are like millennials and the generation after us, I think is what, Gen Z, do you guys think that we're a lot weaker when it comes through going hardships in relationships versus our parents?
One
Because
hundred
our parents
percent.
went through fucking hell and still stuck together for the most part.
Mhm.
I think
Obviously,
it
again,
was easier.
tell me why, bro. Why do you think it was easier for them? Because you're right, like there was no internet. Things were
Internet,
different.
social media, and internet and social media. I think it was a
But a
lot
lot,
easier back then, in the fact that you met somebody and you hung out with that person and you end up with that person. You didn't have the opportunity to meet people all over the world like people do today. And that's why I think, like, if you go, I'm not, and don't quote me on this, I didn't do my research on it, but if you go look at like back in the days divorce rate compared to now's divorce rate, and you can even, and now's divorce rates including our parents, okay, but
You're right.
because of the technology that is now being even given to our parents, they're more open to doing other things and meeting other people and seeing other things, like that Ashley Madison website. Look how many people were on that website cheating, and husband and wives were on that website in the same household
That's a
cheating.
good point.
Okay,
Mhm.
and without that website, that's 3 billion people, whatever it was, that aren't cheating.
No,
You know what I'm
you're
saying?
right.
So I
Yeah.
feel like that has allowed people to really go and do that, because if you not only look at our parents but look at our grandparents, a lot of our grandparents are still together, at least in my life and people
That's
I know.
no, you're right.
Okay,
My
not
grandparents were still
necessarily
together
our
until
parents,
my
but
grandma died, but
exactly, my friends' parents and stuff, things like that. Some of them may be divorced and whatever, but some of them also had that technology, and I still feel like that played a little bit of a part into it. It's just easier to talk to people, easier to find people. Like in that movie Hot Tub Time Machine, when the guy goes, "How do I find you?" Or how do I get a hold of you? She goes, "Will you come find me?" You know what I mean? It's not that easy to fucking find that person out. It's not
right.
as easy to find
Yeah,
someone else.
yeah,
So
that's exactly what it is,
that's
man.
what I truly
Especially,
believe. If you look at grandparents and things like that, they're still together. If they're not, it's because the other one passed away, unfortunately, right?
That's right.
At least, like I said, within my friend group and my people that are all
Oh yeah.
around me,
Well, same for
right?
me, dude.
I don't think divorce was that big back then, right?
No.
Not to mention, people didn't look at you good when you divorced your other as a family
Oh,
member.
for sure. It was like family
it's
shame
taboo,
and
bro.
community
Hmm.
shame.
Right?
Yeah, bro. Divorce was like,
And now we live
especially
in
for
a
our
different
grandparents'
world.
generation, that shit was a fucking
Yeah,
no-no.
yeah. The
So
way I
do you
look,
You
what do
stuck
you
together
think,
through
Daryl?
thick and thin.
yeah, the way I look at it, especially with like all the social media dating apps, it gives everyone now single folks. That's why most people are still single, because like we have so much options. They're like, oh my gosh, what if this guy's not, or this girl's not the girl? What if it's the next girl that matches that's the girl? And then you start like playing fun. You start juggling. You start juggling. You know what I mean? And you settle down, and then you start constantly thinking, hey, what if the next swipe could be is the actual one. You know what I'm saying? So then
Mm-hmm.
you're always uncertain as to what you want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. Most people get in relationships with an uncertain mind, not really knowing what they want from both parties. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And then over time, you start realizing why you actually got into that relationship, and that's not what you really want. You know?
And then you got to think of this too. Think about how much harder it is to approach a girl, and as a man, to approach a girl not being on their phone. A guy will get a girl's number and start texting her things, but never say that to
Mhm.
her face. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
dude, that shit's
It's a lot
But
crazy.
it's the
different
day and
that
age
way
that we're
too.
in, though.
Back in the day, you used to get that girl, you used to talk to her, and you used to be happy with that. People didn't want. Not everyone. Obviously, there was guys out there that did it, but that to go out there and throw themselves out there to meet that new girl and get
Yeah.
another girl and do all that, right? It's different now.
Yeah, no, you're right, bro. I think it's super different. Obviously for me, I've whatever, man. I've luckily enough haven't had to date around or whatever during the pandemic, and for the last whatever it's been 3 years or four, I can't remember exactly, but regardless, I see it. But I'm curious though, to kind of stay around COVID. Like, Daryl, obviously you're the single one in the crew.
Hmm.
How has COVID impacted your dating life, bro? Like that to me, I feel like because there's a lot of people, like Jordan said, a lot of people. I think you said it too. You guys are right, man. More people nowadays are quicker to be divorced or break up with their relationships, and also a lot
Hmm.
more people are being single longer versus our parents and the generation before. Hell, their goal was to be like married and have kids by like 20.
Hmm.
Now
Yeah.
it's more like, yo, I'm not trying to have kids till I'm like 30 plus and after my career, blah blah. So what's the pandemic done in your life, Daryl? Like, bro, like how's dating been? Like, just what's the experience been so far? It's because
It's
it's about to be a year, bro. We think we hit a year on the 17th of this motherfucker.
mhm. It's very tough, man. It's very tough. So with me, especially during the pandemic, I try to keep it the same, keep it with the same girls, or yeah. Just keep
My
it with
brother
the
said,
same.
my brother said my wife is really messing up my game. That's funny.
Yeah, it just yeah, just pretty much just being with the same person, and then but the thing with what I'm doing is that I'm not seeing them every single day. You know what I'm saying? It's like maybe once a week or maybe once every other week. So it's that the spark is still there, and then we're still just communicating on the side. So I don't mind that. To me, I still have to get the companionship that I need, but I also get a space that I want because I'm still doing my thing. I'm still I'm career driven right now. I'm just trying to figure out exactly where what my next step is to take. So it's kind of nice having that. Well, that's me personally, right? But there's some dudes out there who are single who are stressing because they don't have that person, and they're trying to find that. Like one of my homies, so he's an extrovert also, and he's single. So right now he doesn't really like the Tinder, the social media dating apps. He doesn't like
Right.
he doesn't like meeting women like that. So he loves meeting women outside, like in the clubs, out in the street, in the gym. You know what I'm saying? So right now it's kind of like it's really hitting him. You know what I'm saying? I can feel his energy. It's dawning on him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but for me, I don't mind it. I think I'm an in between. I'm an extrovert and also an introvert sense. So I can thrive well alone, and also I can thrive well with others. You know what I'm saying? So, but with him, he is just a straight extrovert. So he needs that external outlet, right? And he's not really getting that right now. And also, especially with those dating apps, he's not really getting what he wants, right? And he doesn't really want to settle for less because he knows that he will never find what he's looking for from those apps because that initial point of contact is not organic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
Right?
I feel you, man. I mean, especially for somebody like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any experience in dating apps, man, so
Mm-hmm.
I can't really speak on
Mm-hmm.
the topic.
But that's pretty much if you want to meet someone new, that's how you are
No, for
going to
sure.
be meeting them nowadays. You know what I'm saying? You can't really
See
just
what I'm
meet them on the
saying?
street. Even approaching women is
Yeah,
different.
dude, I read a
You
statistic
can't.
today
Yeah.
that over 39% of couples
Mm-hmm.
since 2017, over 39% met online in some capacity, whether dating app, social media, versus in person. Was it? Oh, sorry. So it
But
was
those
yeah
relationships don't
in
last though.
2017. Yeah, so in
Yeah.
2017 to now,
Mm-hmm.
39% of relationships were created and met online, versus I think prior, pretty much like the before the internet age, essentially like the internet
Mm-hmm.
age that we're in now,
Yeah.
only
Bro, I've
2% were
heard.
meeting online.
Yeah, I've
You know what I
heard so
mean?
many stories about like. Remember, I think it was a relationship episode. What we read this one story how someone was pretty much faking the entire identity about who they really are, right? So that's one thing about those social dating apps, right? So you could imagine
Bro,
someone that you think,
and it's a thing to jump in
yeah,
because you're right, because the relationship, you pretty much the fucking my ex-wife or whatever, we met on
mm-hmm,
fucking like Instagram basically.
mm-hmm,
And then,
mm-hmm,
obviously, like you just said it, bro. There was
mm-hmm,
such a filter around who she was portraying, who she was.
mm-hmm,
That wasn't a real person.
Mhm.
I fell in love with
People can be
that
with whatever they want online.
yeah,
right, and
100%,
that's
man.
who I fell in love with, was the person, the perceived person that thought that person was, right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then when we got to reality, when I obviously moved up here to Toronto and reality hit, there was no more social media. It was like just that
The
person.
reality, yeah.
Bro, is another fucking person, yo. Like
Mm-hmm,
legitimately
Hmm.
another person. Like I was basically, again, catfished, but not like by person face, but like personality and all that
mm-hmm,
shit. But Jarrell, you're right, bro. Because a lot of people online, most people, I would say most people, what you see online is not truly who they are. That's just a snippet of the good shit. You know what I'm saying?
100%,
Because
100% of
imagine,
the good shit.
right?
Mm-hmm,
Because imagine all three of us posted daily on Instagram exactly what we're going through in life that day,
mm-hmm.
buddy. It wouldn't be the same fucking
It would be
pages. You know
glamorous,
what I'm
bro.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the thing about, I think you said it right, Daryl, like from the dating apps to even social media, it's a filter of what that person wants to portray. And a lot of times it's portraying a little bit more than what they might truly be, either
Yep.
all the time or who they really are,
And
period.
that's what I'm getting. Even if you now go back in the day where they didn't have the internet and the technology, they knew the person they were getting in the relationship with because they were friends with them before. They knew who they were. They knew something. They knew every. You know what I mean? And they ended up knowing
Yes,
everything about them.
that is
And
correct.
nowadays, two people still hide behind their phones. How many times I'm sitting on the couch and shit, and where I could be talking with my girl, and I'm just sitting on my phone, stuff like that, right? So it's like things like that. Technology has just taken over, and in a way, it's made things better and it's ruined some things, right?
No, I'm
Of
with
course,
you,
of
bro.
course.
I'm with you on that, man. Because to kind of circle back on COVID, I think like even for me, like relationship wise, obviously I can't speak for Sid, but I can speak for myself, man. I think COVID for me, um, I've already been for the most part in my matured, like as I've matured more, I'm a pretty patient person, man. Not I wasn't always like that. As far as the the patience that I have now at 34 years old. Um, but I thought even with COVID, man, it's taught me a lot more patience. Period. With my person, like with my life, my relationship, because again, given the pandemic situation that we're in, it's a very unique situation, man. You know what I'm saying? So instead of like, when things aren't necessarily going, the way I want them to go per se, instead of me lashing out, it was not easier. I think it was the more wise decision to be patient. Be patient with your lover, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because this is weird times that we're in. So just understand that this is not normal 100% per se. So be patient. And I think if I was to give my 2 cents to anybody out there in a relationship that's kind of struggling, that would be my advice is you have to be more patient with your lover, man. And when I was younger, I wasn't the most patient person. Like as soon as I didn't like something, I would say something. But now at this point in my life, I've learned that you don't have to fight every battle, man. Some battles are worth fighting, and you probably should, especially if you're in a relationship. You got to know. I think you got to know when to kind of pick the fight, per se, right? Where it's like, all right, time out. Like this is kind of going too far because
It's
there's a
getting
difference.
too much.
That's right,
It's
because there's a
becoming
difference
too much.
between
Yeah.
patience and passiveness,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a fine line. Sometimes you gotta like really, play. I think me and Jordan, I think you and I can probably speak on that a bit more because we've both
Mm-hmm.
been in relationships for a long time. But that's definitely what I've learned, man, is that patience is a big key driver to us navigating COVID, and even today, man, we were both like just kind of spent from work, and we're like, I was like, just saying out loud to her while she was doing the dishes. I was like, yo, like what I would do for some sun in Mexico right now. Like I'm so tired of being cold. Like I just want to go out. Like I want to be somewhere, not here. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, sitting the other, she was like, fuck, I don't even want to talk about it. So we both are frustrated with the situation
Mm-hmm.
because by this time of year, we've already traveled at least once or twice, man. Um, or once for sure. And then last year, we didn't get to go on vacation. And honestly, my personal burnout has been literally, we have worked 24/7 throughout the pandemic. We never stopped working. Not to say that I'm not being grateful because I'd much rather have a job than collecting fucking government money,
Mm-hmm.
but it hasn't been easy, man. At least for me, because it's nonstop. Like we haven't stopped working, and we've gone
And
through a
you've
pandemic.
been in the office,
That's
the
right.
stress of being in the office,
That's
but
right.
not for anything, but like there's a fucking pandemic. Like, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? It's not easy going out and going into the office,
That's
like
right.
it
That's
isn't.
right. Yeah, man. And we were talking about it, being the crew at work. We were talking about it. I'm not sure what she wants, baby. She's kind of whimpering around, but we've been talking about like we just want to go out and fucking on a patio and have some drinks. You know what I mean? We
Mm.
can't even do that. Well, maybe we can now with kind of some
You
shit
can
loosened up in
now.
Durham.
I don't know if you go on the patio, you may want to bring a scarf and
Well,
shit,
yeah, no,
but
true that. But you know what I mean? But I think that would be to kind of circle back to the topic, that at least my 2 cents on COVID and navigating through your relationship, I think it's definitely patience. I've already been very
mm,
patient, but it taught me to be fucking even more patient. But what about you, Jordan? Like obviously with your girl, you've been together with your girl a lot longer than I think like double the time been with
mm-hmm,
mine.
mm-hmm.
What has COVID taught you and how has it helped your
And for
relationship?
me, COVID has not changed too much. I've never been one to go out to club like I used to, but it died out before COVID kind of came,
Yeah.
right? To go on, it sucks not being able to go out for drinks with y'all and whatever, but I know what'll come. I know what'll get there. I don't know. I just haven't really let it get to me. I guess like I feel like other people have, or like maybe as I should have, but it hasn't essentially affected my everyday life. Like you essentially could still go to the grocery store, so I can still get my food, and I love my food. Everything I kind of needed was open, other than being able to go out with y'all and go out, and have some drinks or whatever, or take Brit on a date. But we still, I cook dinner. We still have dates. You would make the best of it. So COVID hasn't really like affected us or me in that way at
I
all.
miss
Like
going on a date with my girl, even just to go
yeah,
eat,
I miss
man.
that.
Like it's
That's what
been
I'm saying. I
so
miss
fucking
that,
long.
but like it hasn't affected us to the point where it's it's an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we still make the best of it. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's the best thing you can do. And I think
For
that's the
sure.
best thing to do for that. So, like, it hasn't affected my relationship at all. And if anything, being able to be home, like, you know, with working and stuff, sometimes it's nice to, it's been nice, you know, it's been nice to being able to do that. And it's actually I feel like our relationship has grown in a way. And in certain aspects, we've even found a little bit more out about each other, which it's a good thing, because you don't know whether or not you like those things, and if you can cope with it, then it's good, right? So I think it's done some good, and it hasn't really affected me too much. It will come summertime when, you know, I can't go golfing and I can't do, like, you know, play baseball, stuff like that. I think that's when it'll bother me. But like in the wintertime, I hibernate anyway. You know what I mean? So it hasn't really affected
No,
me.
I'm with you on that. I hate the winter, man. I'm a bit of a hermit crab.
Yeah.
Daryl, what do you think, bro? With obviously with your experience, or even your parents, like, what's your perception on, you know, let's just say again, like, you know, with your parents' relationship with COVID, have you seen ill effects? Have you strengthened? But your parents are solid, bro. Like, your parents are
Yeah,
amazing. But
but
like, what do you think you've seen per se with
I
COVID?
don't
Being
think
in, you
anything
know,
changed.
your relationship,
I
they've
don't
been
think.
together forever.
Well, they've been together for 30 years. I don't think anything
Beautiful.
changed. Everything's still the same, man. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So first of all, they're way past it. They're going out stage in their life. So pretty much their life is pretty much work, home, repeat. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then grocery store. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
nothing really changed. But what I'm seeing is from my homies, most of them are breaking up with their girls, right? So
Wow.
the first right. So one of my boys, he just ended his relationship just last March. All right, this is pretty much right before the pandemic hit, but they tried working it out throughout the pandemic. It didn't work out.
Why?
Right?
Was it because of the pandemic keeping them apart, or can you speak more on that?
Yeah. I'll not speak too much about, but pretty much it's just that well, she's the one that pretty much stated that there's too much of him, right? So
Oh,
she decided to
wow.
walk away, right? So
So they're too much.
too much,
Wow.
right? Right, but
Like,
the
she
Living
thing,
was
this is
seeing
together?
him too much. Were they living
hmm?
together, I guess? Were they living
Yeah,
together?
yeah, they were living
Mm-hmm.
together. Yeah. So
Wow.
so right there. So and then they would try doing it throughout the pandemic. And I just think just during that time while others trying to work things out with everything that was happening, it just enhances all the negative in that relationship, right? So and then just decided to just go their separate ways, right? Same thing with my other homie, just November of last year. His relationship just went down the drain, right? So it was pretty much a
Wow.
similar situation. She lost her job. She was depressed. He was also not working at the time. So it's kind of like, yo, bro, it's like two people who battle in depression and like a whole lot of circumstances that just presided in their relationship. Now it's
Financial
trying to like,
pressure from being laid off,
so
and
it's
then
like, so it's
fuck,
like
man.
now we're both better off just doing our own thing, right? So you get your shit back together. I mean, get my shit back together. So pretty much there's so many different levels to why people are breaking up. You
Yeah,
know, so
bro.
that's
I mean, one of our
from that.
homies at work,
Hmm.
same thing. COVID pretty much killed their relationship, man.
Hmm.
So, obviously, I don't want to say any names. We'll let him speak on it
Mhm.
if he wants to. We'll get him on the show. But like,
Hmm.
yeah, bro, it's
One
fucked
hundred
up,
percent.
man. It's
Yeah, man.
I've seen it too. You know, a lot of people are splitting, man.
Hmm.
And let's go back on that. And it's one of those things where, like, what do you guys like? Because I same thing, man. Like, when people ask me for, not to say that I'm fucking, you know, a lot of people ask me for relationship advice, but when, you know, here and there it pops up, I'll be the first one to tell somebody, like, y'all need to live together ASAP, because you need to know if you really like that person or not.
Mhm.
Do you
One hundred
like,
percent.
you
Those
know,
habits.
how exactly, like, if you know, and I have little habits, like little
Hmm.
fucking, you know, habits that drive City crazy, but it's not to the point where she wants to fucking leave my ass, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing, like, she has a fucking habit of leaving the lights on, but I'm not trying to fucking break up with her. You know what I'm saying? Um,
That's funny.
but you know, but that's the thing though, man. Like, there is little. Look, see, she's about to go turn off the kitchen light. See, 'cause she left it on. See, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I mean. But at the other side of it, though, honestly, I'm way worse than she is. Man, she leaves lights on. I do all kinds of crazy shit. But the other side of it, though, is the reason I tell people, you know, when they ask me, like, the first thing out, because imagine if I would have lived with my ex before we fucking tied the knot, buddy, that relationship would have ended first month probably. But I think that's why people
One
should
hundred
live together
percent.
soon. Curious question for you, Jordan. how quick did you and your girl move in together when y'all started dating?
We didn't. So when we started dating, she came over fairly frequently and slept over a fair bit. And from there, like I would say within that first like 6 months to a year, she was probably over and sleeping over 2, 3 nights a week, if not more,
Mm-hmm.
kind of in the way of living together, and it just increased from there.
That's right.
And then it got to the point where we were just no, she never left. So,
See what I'm saying? But it was early on, you know what I'm saying, that you
mhm,
guys realized like, yeah, I can stomach this person every day when they wake up in
100%.
the morning, their little quirks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I think, the other side of it is, yeah, man, COVID. I mean, if somebody was to ask me my like true opinion, like what do I think about relationships ending during COVID? Honestly, my honest answer is, for most people, probably a blessing in disguise. Because yeah, COVID probably just uncovered the lid of a bad relationship. And the lid was basically your normal lives and being able to avoid each other by going to work or whatever. That shit was the basically the cloud over a relationship that was never going to work, right?
Exactly.
And then I think, to kind of circle back, where we are saying how we see a lot of relationships end after 10, 15, 20 plus years with kids, because we talked about a second ago, is that people's life change, they go retired, stuff like that. Now all of a sudden they're spending shit time together, right? And they realize they fucking hate each other 20 years later.
Mhm.
So I'm like, dude, when I look at it, I'm like, yo,
But just
people,
to
you
stop
had
you
to dodge the
there,
bullet.
just on that topic there. With that though, in parents in the way they were. So, for example, just like my parents, my dad was working. He would wake up at 5 a.m. Okay, go to work and be home at like 8, 9 at night. Sometimes we work all night, right through the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And he never really had, and on the weekends and stuff, and before he had that time, but like he was grinding it out and had to do it for our family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that live that life and they don't actually know, like, their wives are home or their wives are doing whatever, and they change, or the parents change, each other change throughout that, and they don't actually know that each other have changed because they haven't spent enough time together. So like my point with my parents is that I'm sure my mom changed throughout things, or my dad changed throughout, my
Yeah.
dad working so much or whatever, but you just have to be either able to adapt with it and move with it, or you don't, right? And yeah, they definitely went through hard times. Okay, I'm sure every
Oh
relationship
yeah.
has, and you gotta fight through that part. But the only thing with the COVID thing that I agree with you that it's a blessing in disguise. But the only time I feel like with COVID that it wouldn't be is if things were great and everything was amazing except financially, and you got left someone because of finances, because
That's
money
fucked up.
should never be the reason that you leave someone, in my head.
But the funny thing is, the money financials
I know.
apparently are the, I think, either one or two reason.
Yep.
It's either first or second place as far as
It's
the
on
main
I agree with that.
reasons for
But
divorce,
I
statistically
disagree with that,
speaking.
especially, and I disagree with it in the way that I get it if you got somebody who had a great job, he quit, just didn't care for it, is a deadbeat now, whatever. I
Mhm.
disagree with it in the fact that somebody got laid off because of a pandemic, and
Yeah,
because of this pandemic, you're going to go ahead and leave their ass because they no longer
yeah,
have
that's
money.
fucked up. But there's
That would
people
be
out
fucked.
there like that though.
100% there is, and
that's
that shit
happening.
I don't. That's happening too, and that shit I don't agree with, because that, and again, maybe that is a blessing in disguise too. But at the same time, if you're really that stressed out about the money, just relax a little bit. Let it get better, because you just think about the times you had before, when the money, whether or not you were making a shitload of money, and now it's nothing, or it was a decent amount and now it's shit.
Mhm.
Regardless of what the situation was, just think about the way things were before, because eventually it will circle back to that way. So if it comes down to the money, the stress of the money, I don't. For me, I wouldn't leave someone.
Oh,
But
for
then
sure.
Not
again, that but
for
that
a
but then you
COVID
should realize
situation.
1% should realize that person is in it for the wrong reasons. That if they're only appreciating you when you're bearing gifts,
Yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
you should
Mm-hmm.
rethink
Yeah,
that
I'm
relationship
with you.
situation.
Yeah, I'm with you. And this is the thing, man. Like, and maybe because I've had a lot of relationships, that's why I'm kind of like, yeah, man, people that kind of split through COVID, like it's probably the right thing to do. Because I guess, what I'm trying to say is that I think when you go through hardships with somebody, um, yeah, bro, that's gonna teach y'all. Like, what it's pretty much gonna, it's gonna be exposed when you go through some really tough shit with somebody, especially, let's say, like them losing a job or something like that. Um, it's gonna expose whether you really truly love that person, because a lot of times when times get tough, like for example, your boy. They both lost their job. And I bet that was fucking hard, man. Like I can't imagine me not making any money,
Mm-hmm.
bro. I haven't not made money
Mm-hmm.
in a long time in my life, right? Because I started
Mm-hmm.
working pretty much honestly, as soon as I could, I wanted to go make my own money. But
Yeah.
I can imagine someone in that same situation, and then a pandemic situation hits that's far out of your control, and nothing you can do about it. You get laid off,
Mm-hmm.
you get these government money, then all of a sudden the government's like, sorry, no more government money. And then that happens to both people in the same fucking house. I can only imagine the stress on that dude, that literally they both, like, their livelihood is gone. But what I'm trying to say is that situation right there, there's only two things can happen, bros. At least in my opinion, it's either you guys are gonna fucking fight
Weather the
and
storm.
kick and weather the storm, or in that storm, it's so ugly, and you find out that this is not someone that I want to go through hard times with. Because the other
Mm-hmm.
side of it, I think, is a big part of relationship is like, when things are great, I love this person. But what about when things aren't really, really good? Are you willing? Is this the kind of person you want to go to battle with? Can you go to battle with this person? And I think COVID probably uncovered the fact that a lot of people are like, nope, this ain't the one that I want to go to battle with. And then the other side of it, some people are like, if it wasn't obvious before, COVID showed me that this is the fucking person for me, dude, because we just went through the worst 12 months of our life, and I love this person even more. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, well,
Mm-hmm.
100%. But you would think that last point right there would be most of the outcome that's coming out of COVID. You know what I'm saying? Because like the more you spend the more time you spend
No,
together with your the more
because a
time you
lot of these
spend
people,
together.
like you said, are meeting online now.
One
Well,
percent.
check this comment my brother said. He said, to your point, on an older couple, because my brother and his wife been together a long, long
Mm-hmm.
time, and they're empty nesters now. His kid is out, got his house, and he's working or whatever, right? But he says an older couple finally being without kids at home. He said, I feel so much closer with my wife Priscilla because we aren't doing so many things that kept us so busy. Um, which, yeah, man, I think that's a legitimate thing. You know what I mean? Because when you're working, busy life, busy kids. I mean, fuck, I don't have kids, but we can kind of relate with the dogs, eh, Jordan? The dogs keep us
Mm-hmm.
busy, man.
Bro, damn right they do.
They keep us very busy, and I'll be the first one to tell you, like Penny being thrown into the mix in our home life, buddy. Like it's changed the dynamic at home.
Nothing else to worry about, man.
That's right. Something else to worry about. Now we like, as much as we'd want to go out, we're like, you know what? Our dog's been put up all day. Like,
Mm.
yeah, man, it's a different situation. So I can understand. But I mean, even probably tenfold when you have a child, you know what I'm saying? That actually can talk
Oh yeah.
and like want to be entertained and shit like that. So I think that's a great point. But back to COVID, same idea, empty nesters. Again, I feel
But
like
the
it's
fact
gonna go either way. You know what I'm saying?
but Gerald, keep going on what you were saying there though. Because I interfered with you a little bit.
At which point?
You were talking. I was talking. You were talking about on how people within the relationships and how you would think that they would
Oh
be
yeah,
together more or
one
they
hundred
stick
percent.
together more
But
than
but, that, but that's
be apart.
but yeah, for sure, exactly. That's what should have been the outcome coming out of COVID, right? You know what I mean? So you would
Like
think
making
that's the
relationships
person.
stronger? Is that what you're
Yes, because
saying?
you would think,
Okay.
yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. Because you would think that's the person that you battle with 24/7. You would think that's your ride
Well,
or die
yeah. I
partner.
mean,
You know what I'm saying? So
that's the
you would
goal,
think
right? When you
the
pick
one
somebody.
percent. So it's kind of shocking that most people during this time is the time that they're divorcing. It makes sense, but it's just sad to hear.
I think it's because to touch on what Tony
Mm-hmm.
touched on before was the fact that like when he met his wife, well, his ex-wife, sorry, that he didn't know exactly who she was because he met her online in a way, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
these people, I feel like maybe I would like to see a statistic on it on how many of these people that got together before COVID met online that are no longer together after COVID because they actually didn't know who they were together with.
Bro, that would be what we'll do, man. Maybe next week we'll do a part 2 to this, was because I would love to know the statistics as well.
Mhm.
Because then that'll give us like a direct correlation to say that,
Mm-hmm.
like, at the end of the day, as great as the digital age is,
Mhm.
maybe it has been the downfall of meaningful, long-lasting relationships.
Bro,
That
listen to this.
maybe meaningful, long-lasting relationships are the
Mm-hmm.
10% that are meeting in person, through
Mhm.
work, or through friends, through family, through church. I'm if I was a guessing betting man per se, I would bet that, yeah, man, people that met in person first, probably their divorce rates are probably, I would
But
go
Way
with
lower.
50% less than someone that eventually,
Mm-hmm.
that originally met
mhm.
online and stuff like that. Like if I
Yeah.
was
And
to
it's
guess or
also
bet
like
on it.
there's also like those like dating sites, which I feel like eHarmony type thing, where they have like proven records, those things where, but they interview you, they know get to know who you are. It's not like Tinder where who you can be whoever you are. You know, you can put a fake picture up or whatever it may be. So
But
things are a lot of like I'm not trying to say that dating sites don't work, but I'm trying to say the ones that the average one out there don't.
No, I'm with you. I don't know
Yeah.
because
yeah,
I'm
but
kind of like the way I look at it like a foundation. Go ahead, Darren.
yeah, but the thing is, with those dating sites like eHarmony and whatever else is out there that you have to pay, that you have to subscribe to, especially as a millennial, it's like, why would I pay for a service that I can get for free? You know what I'm saying? So people are like pretty much taking the easy
The
way
reason
out.
that you know people better, though, you understand people better.
Yeah,
That's what
because yeah,
that's
it does
really
that like compatibility matching and
exactly.
shit
Mm-hmm.
like that, right? But
Because like you don't know who the hell you could be. How many girls do you talk to on Tinder? Let's say you're talking to 10 girls on Tinder. You meet up with a couple of them. You don't meet up with the other seven. Those other seven, for all you know, could be dudes.
You know what I mean?
well, yeah, no, it's a
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
fact.
saying,
No,
bro.
no, it's
People
a
do
fact.
that
No, that's
shit.
true. No, people do
You
that for
know,
sure. People do that for sure.
and that's my point.
Um,
Whereas like you won't get that on an eHarmony website.
no,
You
true,
see what
because
I'm saying?
and that's the thing though, like, because sometimes I'm kind of like on the fence about the whole harmony because I understand it. Like, if somebody goes there, that means they're legitimately looking for some type of relationship because they have to fill out like a
Mm-hmm.
profile and they do like they profile your personality, and then the algorithm of this website tries to match you with who they think will be
Mm,
compatible to this person. But the other side of it is, man, like most people are like, yeah, we gotta have this like picture perfect, like like think my fingers, right? They kind of go into each other that we got to have this picture
mm,
perfect thing like we have to connect this way to be compatible. But
mm.
what I've learned in life through just experience is that what this here is doesn't work for everybody. Some people's
True.
dynamic is better when it's maybe like this. They're
Hmm.
compatible certain effects, but they're also still kind of off per se on paper here, but
And
that's
they're in their
better
own
for
way. Yep.
them. But that's
True.
better for them, right? So that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that, because I still feel like, again, the connection, I guess what I'm trying to say is kind of superficial. But again, I don't have no experience on it, so I'm kind of speaking
No, no.
ignorantly
I
per
hear what
se.
you're saying. I get what
But
you're
I
saying,
feel
though.
like it's kind of a superficial thing to be like, I pretty much
Hmm.
let a dating app, suggest to me who I think is, compatible for me, right? So
Hmm.
I'd be curious,
Yeah.
bros, to see, yeah, what kind of, throughout just in 2020,
Me too.
what's the divorce rate or breakup rate of people specifically that met online the year prior
Oh,
or the
Mhm.
years prior?
I think
Yep.
it's gonna
I
be
bet you it's
it's
significant.
gonna be higher than it is right now, man. Because right now we're
Hmm.
somewhat kind of getting a taste of what the divorce rates are going to be 5 10 years from now, you know, because even right now most relationships are, I can't remember the exact stat, but damn near 50%, I think it was 45 to 50% relationships were met through social media dating apps. And this was like from 5 10 years ago. Remember when we were doing the relationship episode
That's
earlier
right.
last year? All right, so pretty much those are the stats that we were getting. So it was like,
Mm-hmm.
I think especially with the social media dating app relationships growing, so will divorce rates, because at the end of the even on eHarmony you can still create a fake identity.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
You
So
might answer some of these questions on who you want to be, but you're
yes,
not though. Dude, that's a good fucking point.
100%.
True. True enough. That's
Yeah.
true too.
You know,
Fuck,
But
that's a good point.
I feel like there's a lot of negative within the whole divorce thing. I'm also curious too with how many people actually got engaged due to COVID reasons. Due to like,
Exactly.
yo,
And
fuck this is
probably.
yeah, no, you're right. I bet you there's a lot
you
of
know.
people because again, they went through these hard times. And like I
Hmm.
was saying before, that they were like, dude, we went through this shit ass year and I still
Hmm.
adore this person. I probably adore this person
Hmm.
Now
more
that's
than I
true
did
love, man. That's
before.
true love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, man. I think
Hmm.
that it takes things like that, to sometimes show someone that what, like not to say
Hmm.
that they didn't already know, but sometimes it's things like a pandemic and spending 24/7 with each other to realize like, yeah, I love this person more than I knew because I am having a great time with them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I bet you there's and honestly, man, I would love to see if we can somehow all three of us maybe canvas to speak to maybe someone, maybe get them on the show or even just do some kind of Q&A with them of like, hey, did you get engaged during COVID? and what was like the determining factor, blah blah, right? I think it'd be really cool conversations.
Actually, one of my
Um,
homies actually just got engaged during COVID.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
Same
know,
so him and
here,
his
I know,
yeah,
like 3 or 4
yeah,
people that I got been
yeah, one
engaged since
percent,
January.
yeah.
That's
bro.
why.
That's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
honestly,
really
man.
good. No,
I
it's pretty
would
good,
love
man.
to chat with them because it'd be
Mm-hmm.
probably a cool story of like why, why during COVID and why not the year before? Why not till next year,
Mhm,
right? Like there's a lot of
mhm.
different things. So I'd be curious to know, what the deciding factor was there, right? But yeah, man. I mean, I think for what it's worth, yeah, COVID has been a very very weird time for a lot of people. Even to kind of like go back on like just the weirdness of it, and I don't even want maybe that's the wrong word I'm using. Not even weirdness. I think I'm
The
mentally drained
uniqueness.
from it. Yeah,
Mhm,
it's a unique situation, but the
mhm,
unique's been going on. The
mhm.
situation's been going on for so long,
One hundred
that
percent.
it's getting to a point where we're just fatigued, bro. Like we're fatigued. Like
Mm-hmm.
now we got our fucking our job. We got to sign into an app now to be like, hey,
Yeah, it's
I don't have
crazy.
COVID today. You know what I mean? And it's
Mhm,
and it's not, it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do,
mhm.
but it's getting to the point where it stresses you out. And I'll be the first one to tell y'all, if this was like a government app, let's just say, like if the government was like, saying, yo, you got to fucking do this app so we can track you where you are for contact tracing, and then for whatever reason the job was like, yeah, you're gonna have to. I legitimately told Sid, and she was not happy about it, but I was dead serious that, you know what, I have to think about this. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a lot for me. And she was like, yo, you need to fucking relax because like we got bills to pay and shit. But the fact that like I was able to be comfortable enough to tell her how I was feeling, I think showed me that, you know what, like this is a person that I don't need to hide my emotion with. Like I
Mm-hmm.
told her, I was like, yo, this is how I feel. Now, would I probably done it? No. But that's how I was feeling at the moment. I was just heated. I was angry. I was scared. I was everything you could think of, when it
And she
came
was
to the
able,
situation.
and she kept you centered.
She just knocked some fucking sense into me. She's like, just think about it first.
No,
That's all she was
centered,
saying.
centered. She
Right.
kept you centered. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So
Mhm,
it's things like this, man, that I find that like
mhm,
just and it's little things, dude, for me that
mhm,
I'm like, yo, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? Like I'm a pretty lucky dude, man, when it comes to my relationship because I know myself and I'm even a lot to handle for myself sometimes because I am very, I'm fiery, I'm emotional. My reaction when I was telling her how I felt was an emotional reaction. And I knew it was emotional a day later. I was like, you're a fucking idiot, bro. Like, you're not going to just fucking walk out of your job because you don't like something because then you'd quit every job you ever had, right? But the fact that I was able to chat about it and tell her how I feel and versus, because she could have been like, pretty much shouted back at me like, you're a fucking idiot. Don't do something stupid that's gonna, put us in a weird financial situation. She was just like, yo, like, just fucking relax. Like, just fucking chill. Think about it later. Do your research. You know what I'm saying? And it's things like that, man, that, through COVID that's taught me. It's like, yeah, you know what, man? Like, I'm all right, dude, in that department. You know what I'm saying? And I
mhm.
wish for a lot of people out there that have relationships, I just hope that, especially if it is going your way and, your relationship got stronger, um, I definitely feel that like through all the negativity, what I'm trying to say tonight, ramble, man, is that I think if I was to guess on what's gonna happen, like if we're gonna look at statistics, let's say 5 years from now, the relationships I believe that survived COVID or got stronger for COVID or got married during COVID, if I was to guess, I think those relationships will be way more longer lasting through
Mm-hmm.
possible death in those relationships, like when somebody dies, right? Than versus not because, like they say in business, businesses are created during tough times. When the markets are down, pandemics, a lot of great companies are formed. I also believe in that with people. I think people, when we go through tough shit, a lot of people, for the most part, respond, strongly. And I think the same is for relationships. I think a lot of relationships that are coming out of the pandemic, I think are going to be so much stronger than they ever could have been without the pandemic. And I think it's going to be a blessing in disguise for a fucking millions of couples out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really excited to see again the long-term effects, the children that are going to be raised in this kind of family with this kind of foundation, this kind of unity. What I'm trying to say is that I want to look at it positively because I think there's a lot of positive that came out of COVID when it came to relationships, even though the statistics say that it's more shit than anything. But I think the power of the good
But
that's happening in his
the
relationship, I think is gonna,
statistics will
you
tell
know,
you the statistics will tell you it's shit because let's say the divorce rates are high. But if you speak to those people that got the divorce, they will tell you that COVID was great to them because they're no longer in that toxic relationship.
true,
That's all how
true
you look at it.
perspective, right? What's your thoughts, Daryl? Like, because y'all get what I'm trying to say, right? What I'm trying to say is that
100%.
I think a lot of relationships are gonna be great decades from now because they navigated this fucking crazy time we're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so for sure, especially for me, in terms of just coming from a single perspective, especially being around multiple folks that are who are also single. From what I'm getting from COVID is pretty much letting them find themselves instead of actually jumping into a relationship, right? Because even some of my homies who are not in relationships right now, whose relationships that ended during COVID, they're saying it's a good thing because at that time, like one of my boys. His relationship ended also just earlier last year during the pandemic, but during his stint with his 4 or 5 years stint in his relationship, he kind of felt like he was mentally drained. So after that relationship, he was able to. I'm not saying that the relationship that held him back, but he found new source from. He found a new motivation source, right? Which was getting himself better and getting himself where he needs to get himself to where he can be as successful as he can be, right? So I feel like just being around single folks um, right now is we're all figuring out ourselves on how we can be a better person. Me personally, what I can do, what can I do for myself that can make me a better partner for someone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I think being in this situation right now is kind of helping folks who are single. You trying to own into your own. Just be happy with yourself. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the first thing that we need to learn during these times. Just be happy with yourself. Right? Just
Mm-hmm.
find your own source of happiness before you hop into a relationship looking for that happiness. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So I feel
Yeah.
like COVID is really um, just teaching us new ways on how we can live and cohabitate with someone else.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I think,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of finish or jump in on that thought too, because obviously we started a podcast in on March of last year. You know what I'm saying? We're about to
Mm-hmm.
hit our 1 year anniversary. I think officially we'll do an episode for it, but I got to look at what the date was of our official first episode. But what I'm trying to say is that dude, there is the amount of podcasts started last year in 2020
Mm-hmm.
was like more than ever in the history of podcasting. And basically what's happened, I think you're right. I think with, a lot of people working from home and having more time on their hands, they decided, you know what, they've probably been thinking about a hobby, whether it's a YouTube channel, a podcast, painting,
Mm-hmm.
drawing, whatever the case may be. They've been thinking about it for a long time. But now because they have so much time on their hands, they're like, fuck it. I might as well do it now. Either I got laid off and collect and serve, or I work, but like fuck it, my job's so easy that I find so much in between time while I'm working, right? Go ahead, Jordan.
And then to touch on that too, it also I feel like a lot of people realize that I gave my life to a job or I gave my life. Like
Oof.
many people work 50 years, okay,
Yes.
30, 40, 50 years for a job, all for a job to be like, hey, yeah, things are a little slow right now. So, we're just going to lay you off. No pay.
Mm,
Sorry. And they're like, yo, I came, whether or not I've been even, some people even worked through that pandemic and got laid off afterwards
that's
in
right.
the second class, whatever it may be, and they were putting their lives on the line. And people realize, you know what? Like, I got to look out for myself because that's what this damn company's doing. That's what everyone else is doing. And look out for me, the ones I love, and that's it, my circle. And I think that's what I feel like a fair bit of people realize that throughout this pandemic. And I think a lot of people, I think you're going to see an increase of self-employed people or businesses,
Oh yeah,
increase
it's
Oh
already
yeah,
happening.
yeah,
I
yeah. I
read
already
the
see it.
statistics all the time,
things
man.
like
Yeah, the
that.
the
Yeah.
amount of business licenses, especially just in North America, bro, like
Mhm.
tenfold. People like
Mhm.
filing for business, business licenses is crazy.
100%. There's a
Um,
lot of ways to make money, and and a lot of people don't think of other ways to make money when they're making money because they're comfortable where they are. And
Mm-hmm.
that's
like you
right,
said, like a lot of famous people, had to hit rock bottom
dude. So many
before
famous people started
they
podcasts last year. I was like, fuck off. You know what I
like
mean?
exactly for example Rocky, the dude fucking was a bum, sold his dog, went to a fight, and that's when he came up with the idea of Rocky. He was literally living on the street,
Yep.
right? So and that's how it is. So that's
Yeah.
sometimes this, you got to go through that hardship to come up. And the
Facts.
way what I've learned from that is that from COVID, truthfully, is to watch out for myself, but not for anything. It's just no one cares for you. No one's going to care for you except the ones that love you and yourself.
That's
So
right.
unless you watch out for yourself and watch out for the ones you love, then no one's watching out for you.
No, I'm
Nobody's
with you on
reaching
that,
out,
man.
man.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, and you guys are right, man. I mean, through adversity breeds a lot of opportunity and a
No
lot of
worries, man.
creativity and a lot of strength, man. And I think,
Mhm.
from business to creativity to relationships. Yeah, man, I think, as much as COVID has put a wreck on a lot of people's lives, I think you guys are right. I think throughout all kinds of different factors, man, I think a lot of people are coming out so much stronger and better. Um, and they kind of like finish off because we're about an hour, so it's going to wrap the episode up. Um, I want you guys to wrap up on like just kind of like if you was to for same somebody in your similar situation, what do you think has helped in like as far as your
Before we get
relationship?
there, just to finish on what you were just saying before, if it wasn't for COVID, truthfully, what we're doing, not the whole podcast, but our what we've been dropping little Easter eggs for, would have never came about because the reason
Yep.
we did it is because of things were shut down.
100% you're right, bro. Like our fucking entrepreneurial
That's the
project we're
idea.
working on together. Yeah, you're right. It was because of the pandemic situation, and yeah, no, you're 100% right, dude. I think if I was to like just kind of throw my last 2 cents on a relationship, whether you've been with somebody a year, 2 years, or whatever. I think what's helped myself, and like I said, I don't want to speak for my partner because obviously she has her own story to tell, but at least for myself, I think that's helped navigate the crazy, just different 12 months that we've had. I would say two things, man. I mentioned one already is patience. I think patience. Again, I've already been very patient. I'm normally a very patient person. Um, but I've learned to be even more patient. But I think number two, I think that's at least helped me is um, I think understanding to give each other or give your person space, even within the same space. Y'all get what I'm saying? Like we live together, you know what I mean? And we see each other 24/7 because we work together. But we've already done that really well. But I think during the pandemic, we've probably done it subconsciously a bit more because we're tired, we're worn out. But it hasn't dampened our relationship. Like
Mhm.
I have my hobbies and I play my games. Obviously, I do the podcast with my bros with y'all. Um, this is all like, again, I think a lot of relationships will benefit from learning to be away from each other while with each other. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Like,
have projects. If you like art,
mhm.
go do your art. If you want to record, if you want to just relax, listen to music, play video games,
That's like
whatever
what
it is.
me and my girl have that. Like I'll play my games or I'll go do my recording, and she likes to do like DIY stuff, or she cleans all the time too, stuff like that. She likes to do her own thing. We have like 2-3 days a week where we do our own thing, and then we have our date nights, and then you gotta have those times.
Yeah, yeah,
But we
right
definitely
on.
and like you gotta have those times.
Yeah, right on,
Mm-hmm.
bro. Like that's really, like my brother said it. Yeah, it's
Mm,
an outlet. I think
Mm-hmm.
an outlet, and everybody's outlet's different. Doesn't necessarily mean you got to go record or create or write or draw or paint something. Fuck, your outlet could just be like, yo, I fucking love watching The Mandalorian on Friday nights or some shit. Like
mm,
that's my shit, and leave me
mm,
alone when I do it, and that's okay. I think that's what I feel like. If especially what I think I see, especially with younger people than me, like especially people like under 30, is I think a lot of people under 30, they haven't learned quite to like when you're with someone that you have to like be with that person 24/7, even when y'all are within each other, the same room or the same household. Like it's okay for someone to be away from you in a
mm,
different
Mm-hmm.
room. And I think a lot of relationships, I mean, dude, and it's not just men and women. Like I've talked to women where they're like, the men's are like super clingy, dude. And like, and then the vice versa, the other side where the girl is like mad clingy and always wants to be next to you, with you, around you, but doesn't ever give you any space. And I think a lot of times relationships, because it's created with such little space, right? Like the relationship was founded on little space, always be sure 24/7. So then a year later, when one of them in the relationship just finally says like, hey, can you give me some space, it throws it off because the relationship never had a chance to even adjust to something like that. And I think if
Mm-hmm.
I was a guessing man, again, I think COVID probably forced a lot of tough conversations for a lot of people. Like, yo, I see you, we're at home together. Like, can you leave me alone for a little bit? And I think because so many relationships weren't built on that, they ended because they were like, no, like, what do you mean you don't want to be with me, Bob? What do you mean you don't want to? What do you mean you want me to go to a different room? Or what do you mean you want to just spend some time with, your boys online? And it probably created so many rifts. And I think the other side of it, because we live in such a microwave type society nowadays, everything we want is right now, right now, right now. I think that's why those relationships are ending, because it's like, if it's not going your way right now, a lot of people, unfortunately, man, again, younger folks, when I see, they throw in the towel, dude. They just be like, all right, you know what? I don't, you're just not for me. And they throw in the towel. Versus
Mhm.
the other side of being understanding that, again, personalities are different. Daryl, you mentioned earlier, love languages are different. And I think that's where it is, man. I think the pandemic, I think uncovered a lot of people that they didn't realize what love languages they have together and work together with them, or they found out that person's love language just ain't jiving with mine, so we got to cut this out. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah, for
But
sure. I think.
that's like my final thoughts is, again, man, allow your significant other to have an outlet, whatever that outlet is, and if they want some space, let them have space, dude.
Mhm.
If you have a trust factor and you feel like if I give them space, they're gonna go fuck someone else, you have a lot more issues in that relationship I need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
That make sense?
100,
Mhm.
You
100,
know what I'm
man.
saying? But that's like
Yeah,
my
man.
final fucking two thoughts on the situation, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure, man. I completely agree with what you said, man. If there's some underlying issues that y'all need to work on those underlying issues instead of blaming everything on COVID, right? Maybe COVID was just a blessing in disguise for you to get out of that situation that you're initially in, right? And also another thing I just want to say, especially to folks that are single out there, man, right now, especially some folks that are single, they're depressed because, like I said, most of those events that we go to aren't there anymore for us to interact with different individuals. Right. So even at this time, I just say to just single individual, this is the time for you to just figure out yourself and just enjoy time alone, because sometimes, especially time alone, you start figuring shit out about yourself that you would have never figured out in a million years, right? So you just own into your own skills, own into yourself, and just own into your own principles and ideologies, and then just own into what makes you you. And then who knows, you might just be walking down the street, then somebody
Mhm.
might really just see you and like, hey, I like that person, I like that I like his vibe, and then boom, something happens. You know what I mean? So right now it's just that time, instead of just thinking that you need someone for you to thrive, just like all you need is you. All you need is you, and you alone can get you where you want to get to that promised land. Yeah, man.
Fire, bro.
Mhm. Bro, for me, final thoughts is just, be patient, because patience is very key with
Virtue.
everything. And don't always blame the other in a
Mm,
relationship.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Take a
Mm-hmm.
second to think, is it something I'm doing wrong? Like, there's
mm.
been many times in my relationship where I've done something and I'm here, mad, thinking she did something, and I kind of played the situation in my head. I'm like, okay, whether or not she did this, I didn't have to go about it this way or do things this way, and I kind of replay things in my own head to try and make myself better come the next time. And come the next time that situation happens, I try and remember that last time and try and do better every time. And I'm not trying to say that I make myself better right away, but I have to say that by doing that, I have grown significantly in
Oh
that
yeah.
fact. And I feel like people need to start and actually take a second and realize that no one's perfect, and it is possibly you are the reason that situation came about. So,
Mm.
and that kind of has to do with patience too. So I think that
Oh,
for me is something that I've really learned to do and really think on is kind of just self preservation, I guess, is the word I'm looking for, where I kind
ownership.
of look. Yeah,
You've
self
you've
ownership.
owned.
Yeah.
That you're sometimes you're wrong, but you took ownership of it.
Exactly. And then I
Facts.
think about that a lot, and I think about myself too, as to, my life and where I can do better, and not in only my personality, but just on all aspects of my life. Like, if I where I want to be in life, if I want to be a millionaire, is where I'm at now going to allow me to get to be a millionaire? And if it's not, then start making your ways now, because life is too short. And next thing you know, I fucking, as a kid growing up, I always thought to myself, oh, I got lots of time. I got lots of time to figure out what I want to do. I got lots of time to figure out what I want to do. Well, now I still don't necessarily. I know I want to make money. I know I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't necessarily know what I want to do. And time is kind of getting away, and you got to figure that out now. So I always look at myself and think, get in line, figure yourself out, and if it's not where you want to be, make it where you want to be, because no one else is going to do it for you.
Amen to that, my
100%, man.
bros.
You just gotta hold you just gotta hold yourself accountable for any, just in life, just a life, basic life principle. Just hold yourself accountable, and then if you're wrong, admit your faults, and then move on with it, right? Instead of pushing the blame on someone else. So yeah.
Exactly, because no one's going to fix you except you.
Bros, what a way to end it. I couldn't fucking agree more. It's take ownership and have accountability for yourself. And I can honestly tell y'all, man, I think, the reason I am where I am today, as far as my maturity, is you guys are right. I've taken ownership of every single fuck up I've ever done in my life. To some degree of regret or whatever. No, you guys are right, man. It's accountability. It's taking ownership. And I think when two people that decide to, be in a relationship together, when they both have the same self accountability and take self ownership of the certain things that, that just aren't being helpful for themselves or in their relationship, I think those relationships, if I was the guest, man, 9 times out of 10, they're going to thrive and they're going to be together for 30 plus years, like Daryl's parents and like your parents and so many others, man. So yeah, bro, I couldn't agree with you guys more, and I think it's an amazing way to end the episode. Is accountability, man. It's amazing.
Just in regards to regrets too, if you won't. I mean, for me personally, I only regret something if I let it happen again.
Yeah,
but
maybe that's
if
a
I
wrong
do
word.
something
Wrong
wrong and I learn from it, then I don't regret it because I learned from it.
No, good.
You know
Yeah, good point. Yeah, bad choice of words. I definitely don't regret. But I guess. I guess what I'm trying to say is that sometimes it does still pain me a bit, but no, it's different. But I've and it's funny because, maybe we'll talk about this in another episode. Because I think with me just trying to change little habits, like little habits here and there, it forces me to think upon myself a lot more, and I've realized that what, man, it hurt more than you think it did, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that because I've always been a bit of a suppressor. And realizing here and there, especially when I'll say something out loud, I'm like, yo, did I just say that out loud? And I realize, like, yeah, you know what, man, you did say that out loud because that's how you feel. So maybe you should like revisit that later. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, that's what it is. Definitely not regret, but there is some pain there. But you know what? That's okay. But again, at the end of the day, it's accountability and taking ownership of, like you said, if I did that again, that's my fault. You know what I'm saying? Because that means I'm not learning from my mistakes.
Exactly.
But I would never do that again, right? So again, and that's that taking ownership and accountability of like, yeah, that was my choice. It wasn't that someone forced my hand or whatever. It was my choice to do that. Even from the big to the minuscule or minuscule, I don't know how to say that word. But it's all just you, right? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, not to keep the episode going on too long, but yeah, that'd be, I think, a fantastic way, my bros, to finish it, because I think that's what it is. I think, in relationships, man, is ownership of each other, caring about the other person. And yeah, man, that's how you get better. I think that's how you grow with someone, right? If I was, if I was the guest, you know what I'm saying? I'm no relationship expert, but I could definitely speak on a lot of failed ones and a good one so far that I'm in. So, yeah, I mean,
but that's what it is, man.
Yeah.
Ownership and accountability, bro.
That's it, my bros.
Yeah, fam.
Yeah, fam. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, man, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Everybody, if that's obviously tuning in, and for everybody that streams us, again, we apologize for the long layoff. But again, it's been a bit of a weird year for us, at least to start so far. But we're gonna be back at it. Again, we've got a side project going. Not a side created project, but you guys will see really soon. That's got us really busy and kind of keeping our time going. But again, I appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody downloading. I check our downloads, every couple of days, and it's still consistent. So if everybody's supporting TDP and our Instagram page somehow is growing. I was telling Daryl the other day, like somehow our Instagram page is still getting new followers. So we appreciate everybody. Our Facebook page is still getting new likes and new followers. So I don't know how, because we haven't done shit in like 2-3 months. But for everybody out there, listening to our old shit, tuning into our new shit, man, it's we really appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Yep.
Hell yeah. But for everybody out there, man, again, thank you for listening. It's your boy TG.
It's your boy Darrell.
It's your boy Jordan.
Holla, everybody.
Peace.